Welcome back, everyone. Sorry for the dryer noise in the background. This is Mandy, and I wanted to show you a slight variation on some colors I tried recently. So if you saw video number 135, using similar colors here, I just omitted one color. So this is Matisse Southern Ocean Blue, and I tried this color last night, or these colors last night. So I'm going to do one tile with you, and then hang in there because I'm going to try to do these colors on an actual 6x6 gallery wrapped. And there will be a slightly amusing part in here for your viewing pleasure. I don't want to give it away. This is Boysenberry from Colourarte, one of my all-time favorite colors. So all I did, if you saw video number 135, I layered these colors pretty much the same. The only difference is the apple rose I added on top of the magenta or the Quinacridone red violet. And in this one, I'm going to do it underneath it. And we're just leaving the Diox Purple off. And I really like the results. So stay tuned. And the final color here is going to be the Quinacridone red violet. Also Atelier. And we're going to use a white cell activator. If you're new to our channel, all of the ingredients that we use are listed in the description box below. So cell activator ratios. I just mixed up a fresh batch of cell activator after this tile. And I did about 3.5 parts Australian Floetrol to 1 part Amsterdam titanium white. I used to have a pretty solid 3-to-1 ratio, and I have found more recently that kind of between 3 and 4 works okay for me. Especially when you do like metallics, so like a copper or something that's a little heavier. The 3.5 to 4 parts might be necessary. Sorry, I'm still nursing some coffee. I love this color combo. So what you'll see in a minute is I'm going to try to do this color combo on a 6-inch gallery wrapped canvas. Not a perfect turnout because I used a different blower and I kind of have to get used to using the bigger blowers. I kind of got used to this one for tiles, but yeah, so I need to practice getting the cell activator moving without it all going on one side. Those are some of the things that you experience when you're using something to blow out your cell activator that has kind of a wider mouth. So because your cell activator puddle is small and the mouth of the Yeehaw is wider, same thing with like a hair dryer. So ideally you want to start from high above until you get it moving and then come down and blow it out really quick. And so it's kind of a delicate balance, but you can see up close how beautiful those cells are. And wait for it. What I hope is after what happens that you can actually see the rest of it, because I don't know if I was still in frame. Here we go. Off the turner. Thankfully, face up, I recovered. The day before, it fell off the turner and swiped right through the whole design on the top. So after this, I couldn't get too aggressive. Now, normally, I have tape underneath that. So all of you who always ask, how do you keep things from flying off? Well, it's important to tape or do something underneath. If you're gentle and you're not really spinning really fast, you can sometimes get away with not. But when the paint underneath gets slippery, it's really easy to do. So I wanted to show you guys the composition that I'm after, because obviously doing it on a 4-inch tile and doing it on a 6-inch canvas with, you know, 1 to 2-inch edges is different. So, yeah, so this is what I want the canvas to look like. This is not necessarily the result I'm going to get. So be patient with me as I continue to practice using larger pieces. I'm going to practice on some records, I think, and practice various blowing techniques using my mouth, using a dryer, using the EHO, using all of that until I kind of get a little bit more comfortable with blowing out with other tools. That's why I bought like a cajillion records to pour on. I can make them into clocks. I can do, I can, you know, put wall hanging kits in the back and put them up. So that's what I bought them for. You don't have to so much worry about covering the edges, just really expanding your surface level and kind of getting that down. What's tricky about a gallery wrap is you got to get paint coverage down the side. So you might really like the top, but then you've got to get your sides covered. So it's a learning process. Cradled wood boards, same thing. Usually the edges are a little bit more shallow, but not all of them. Some of them have the gallery high edge. So, but I have to stop stocking up on canvases and things and then not using them. I'm brave when it comes to swipes. I love a bloom swipe. It's easier composition wise, I think, to not screw that up. But I have to remember that it's just paint. So there's a close-up for you. And now hang tight for the actual painting.
Well, I hope that you enjoyed seeing my tile fly off the turner. People get to asking, how do you keep things from flying off? Well, usually I roll up some tape and put it under here. Occasionally I get lazy and don't want to mess with that, and I just try not to spin too hard. And sometimes I put a little bit of pillow paint down and it kind of is just sticky enough. Well, I guess I didn't put enough pillow paint down because it went sliding off. Thankfully, it landed face up, unlike last night where it flew. And so I was able to save it. So I decided it would be kind of comical to keep that in there for your viewing pleasure. So I've been commenting a lot about how I need to just bite the bullet and do some of these colors on a little canvas when I like the colors so much. So I really like this combo. So I have prepped a little 6x6 gallery wrapped canvas, and I also need to get a little bit better at using my EHO a little bit more consistently. So we're going to treat this as like a, hey, we know this works on a tile, so in the same video, let's just do it on a quick canvas. So I will finish the rest of those tiles. I did one last night, did one with you today, and I will do the other ones and finish the set, of course. But what we're going to do to keep this from hopefully doing what it did a minute ago is I'm going to put a little bit of painter's tape. I usually use like clear tape, but I want to be able to get it up pretty easily. So I have prepped this, and I actually taped all the bottom because I am notorious for getting the backs of canvases dirty when I'm trying to get a decent grip on them. So I just decided, forget it. I probably should have explained that a second ago. Dang it. I also prep the canvas in the sense that I spray it with a little bit of water. This is not going to hold this on here. Yeah, so this prepping idea of mine isn't working. I sprayed this with a little bit of water. You can't really hear the drum-like sound because of the tape in the back. But you, ideally you want your canvas to tighten up before you paint on it. It just helps it dry nicely. I don't have my other tape in here, so I'm probably just going to turn around and do that again. I don't think that this will go flying because gallery wrapped canvases are a little bit heavier, but in the event that I have to tilt or something, I want to have the wiggle room to do that. The reason why it's coming off is I just wiped this paint off a second ago, and so it's losing its stickiness on the paint residue, but whatever. So I hope I have enough of the color mixed up. So we are using the same colors we just used on the tile. The only difference is I did go ahead and mix up a fresh batch of white cell activator because the one I was using is a little older, and since we're going to be doing a little bit of a bigger surface, I want it to glide easily if possible across the surface. And I mixed it about 3.5 parts Australian Floetrol to 1 part to 1 part Amsterdam paint. Let me see, testing. Seems like that's going to be okay. So, and reason being is I usually have been a 3-to-1 ratio person, but I'm finding that I get a little bit better results sometimes with a little bit thinner, but it's like you got to find the happy medium because that doesn't always, it's not always fail safe, you know what I mean? So anyway, but a lot of people who have nice cell structure do well with a 4-to-1 or 3-to-4-to-1 ratio. So I figured out that I might just need to thin mine out a little bit. So here's our house paint. Since I voice-overed the first part, I'm gonna get as much of my spiel in the second part as possible. So all the ingredients I use are in the description box below. This is using the Sheleeart bloom recipe. If you haven't taken the class, 100% recommend that you do. And there's a 15% off promo code in the description box below. And at the risk of sounding redundant, you can absolutely learn the technique from other artists. There's so many wonderful artists who use the technique. 100% agree with that. I don't think that it should be a substitute for you taking the class. And the reason being is there's so much to learn about this technique, and it's an ongoing thing. And I really do believe that Shelley and her team do a good job continuing to support the students through lives and all that stuff that you're really only going to get if you're part of the class. So that's my 2 cents. Take it for what it's worth. I think it's worth it. You learn so much, especially if you're not in Australia or in the United States or somewhere where the techniques and the ingredients are a little bit more well known. I think you learn a lot from other students who can share their learning process too. So I feel like I have maybe way too much pillow paint, but I tend to struggle to get my edges. So I'm just gonna gently cover my edges very, very thinly because I don't want to sacrifice composition to cover some cloth. I can deal with some white negative space if that's where we land, but I hate when I have to like do a whole painting again because I can't get the whole canvas covered. So it's my preference to go ahead and cover the edge, just so if I have to shortchange it, then all I'm really dealing with here is negative space, not no paint. So I know that was a double negative, forgive me, and my bad grammar just now, but yeah, so that's my 2 cents about taking the class. Is it worth it? I think so. I think for what you pay for the class, you will more than receive instruction several times over in the life of your learning because of the ongoing support. I mean, there's been numerous live sessions in the group. There's people who really need a little additional one-on-one support who have gotten support that way. Like, you know, these are just some things you can't always make up. I do have people sometimes who contact me that are wonderful viewers and basically kind of asking for me to teach it to them, and I don't mind teaching on YouTube, but I won't like I won't like circumvent the learning that you're going to get from taking the class. I just kind of feel like that's a little bit unethical. Shelley's pretty gracious about us being able to share what we've learned freely, but I don't mind sharing the technique and sharing the general knowledge with everyone. Oh, this is out of focus. Sorry, y'all. But as far as like just kind of bypassing the learning from the class, you know, I'm not gonna teach it like as a private lesson or anything. Plus, I don't really think I have that kind of skill, to be perfectly honest. So this is the Atelier Interactive Cobalt Turquoise Light. Quickly has become one of my favorite colors. I tend to use too much paint, so feel free to judge me now because I'm gonna use a lot of paint. I don't usually do very well with blowing out large single blooms. I hope that this will be the exception to the rule today. I do okay with messy blooms or various puddle pours, but I don't always do that well with a single bloom. This is Boysenberry from Colourarte, an all-time favorite. One of my dogs is snoring or something, so sorry if you can hear that. And I just got a little blobby part over here. That's gonna have to be fine. I'm trying to preserve enough paint where I can finish that set without having to remix. This is Apple Rose from Colourarte, putting on the Glitz. And the reason I'm putting it here instead of on the top is because it's really better to have a paint. I probably used too much of that compared to the Boysenberry. It's better to have an actual paint right underneath your cell activator, generally speaking anyway. Sorry, my dog is snoring. Just for the structure of your cells are gonna respond a little bit better to the structure of the acrylic paint. They will do fine under or right on top of the pigment. It's just that pigments are kind of glittery and stuff, so sometimes you're gonna get glittery and fuzzy cells instead of maybe the tight, well-defined cells that you might actually be looking for. So this is the Quinacridone Red Violet from Atelier Interactive. Not quite as beautiful as the Matisse, but still very lovely. I'm trying to not overdo it there, but I did do a lot of the Apple Rose, so it might be a little pinker than. I just love that putting on the Glitz color, so I tend to get a little carried away. I pop the bubbles I can see. You know, they'll generally blow out, but sometimes they might impede the way the cell activator glides. So let's pray that I have a successful cell activator yeehaw moment. This is my white cell activator using Amsterdam titanium white. You probably can't see this, but what your cell activator, when you kind of scrape the side, kind of looks like the consistency of the way heavy whipping cream moves. And so generally it's going to flow and then bounce. Flow and then bounce. You can tell usually that it's going to work when it gets this little halo around the edge. Tough, quit that. Sorry, my dog is compulsively licking his leg and it's gross sounding. Or maybe he's just chewing nothing while he sleeps. I feel like I need a little bit more CA on there. This is not a coaster after all, you know? But the longer I fart around, the more it sinks, so I need to hurry up. All right. Here we go. troublesome. So this started off really well. This didn't go so well. I'm a little nervous. But I need to let it alone for a second and see where we can recover. We may end up scraping it and starting again. If that's the case, it's only paint. But this, I feel like maybe I should do it on high. I did it on low. So we'll see. I may end up just pouring right over it. Like, these are super messy looking. This part, beautiful. This part, beautiful. But this is why sometimes I think I hesitate to do bigger things, because I hate it when I don't have a win, but like, I need to not be a baby and realize that that's part of the process. So look at all this beautiful paint here that I just blew off of here. On the bright side, if we have to pour over this, the edges should be kind of covered. So, of course, we don't know if we're going to get the same coverage next time. So, how do we know when we can spin? When most of your center moves together, you can start to spin. The one thing about the Yeehaw is it gets way down in there pretty quick because it's powerful. Let's spin, because I have a feeling we're going to have to redo this. So we'll just might as well not delay it. We're already 15 minutes in now, huh? Well, longer than that if you count my tile flying incident. I don't hate it. Not all of it. I don't love it. Sometimes I think I redo things too quickly instead of just embracing the imperfections of them. What I should have done is pulled a Jody Flynn and embellished those areas with some swirly curly cues instead of letting them look like this. I will learn, Jody, and I will try it next time I have a wacky blowout. But these colors, guys, absolutely magnificent colors. Some of my faves. I wish you guys were live right now so you could tell me whether or not to pour over this. So I love this part of it. Well, this part of it. I don't love this part of it. So I kind of think I'm going to pour over it. It hurts my feelings a little bit. I think I'm going to pour over it. Just because the composition is a little bit lacking. That's why we're doing this. That's why we're practicing. So hang with me. I'm not going to scrape it. I'm just going to use that as momentum. So the paint on the edge here will get a little crazy from going right over the top of that, but it's okay. We won't need as much because we already have some in the bottom. I really super love these colors though, I gotta say. So I may have to mix up more paint after this, but This color is probably one of the greatest colors ever. And I'm gonna have to make some more Boysenberry. Darn. Ooh, I just ran my finger right into the corner of that, or my knuckle rather. making up more Boysenberry is no problem. I love that color. Little apple rose. I'm gonna try to chill, maybe not be as insane with it this time. Quinacridone, red violet. And the white CA. All right. I think what I need to do also is get a good start on blowing out the middle and then just really hit it with the Yeehaw. For some reason just not the greatest with the bigger dryers and stuff. So I've seen some people blow it out first with their mouth and then hit it with the dryer. I haven't practiced that enough yet. So I'm going to try to just attack it from the top and then spread it out. Here we go. That's not going well at all. Pardon my head. Like it started off okay on one side. But it wasn't blowing the other side. So this other side is muddy again. So I guess the question is, we have a side that's going okay. Unfortunately, a lot of this is CA right here. So I guess if we're going to curly cue it, like I just said I would consider doing, now would be the time. If it's going to be a potential failure anyway, we might as well give it a shot. I was thinking this morning when I was actually watching one of Jody's videos. Jody does, her channel's called The Painted Dreamer. If you don't watch her, you should. She's very fun to watch. I was thinking today when I was watching her channel, I was like, you know, she gets like some blank space and she does some curly cues where I would normally be like, oh, I don't like that part. I'm going to try it out here in case I don't like it. I don't feel like my hand is steady enough for this. I'm definitely lacking the Jody skills. That one was really a flop right there. I don't really like this section at all. So I'm kind of hoping that this one will just go away. But she uses a skewer, I'm using a toothpick, so that may be part of my deficiency here. I feel like if I do too much more, it's going to look too different. So, yeah, I don't know. Let's see. I may end up scraping this again and have to mix up new paint. So let's see. Need to move this so you guys can see a little bit better. I still super love the colors. Part of what we're dealing with here is my struggle with the happy medium on the blow, which is one of the reasons I'm practicing with this size canvas. so I can get better at using my Yeehaw. The other thing, so I like using the Yeehaw. I also really like this dryer that Tammy Anderson suggested, and she uses it for smaller Dutch pours. So this part I love, this part not so much. And I have tried it on blooms because it has like a narrow little mouth, and I like it, but I haven't tried it on a bigger piece, and I haven't used it enough. So I also need to practice using it. I don't really have enough paint on the canvas to successfully tilt without getting wonky cells. So let me just talk about that for a second. Sometimes when you tilt, because you don't like a part on your painting, like I just tried to do, and you don't have like your center and all of the weight of the paint in a place to help move, tilt and move, sometimes you're going to get wonky cells because you're trying to tilt when you don't have that much paint on. So the little bit of paint that's left is trying to move, and it is not succeeding. So it's going to give you these crazy cells instead of like evenly tilting. So if you have the choice between tilting early and tilting later, you want to tilt before you spin. You can't always tell that you really need to. So, you know, for what it's worth. I wish you guys were here to tell me what to do. If I should leave this or if I should paint over it. This is only a 6x6 canvas. So it's not like it's a 10x20 or something. I don't like this part that's muddy, but I also know that under some resin, that would be probably not too bad. Also, one thing that we artists forget because we're too close to our work is for someone to appreciate what you do and what you have created. They don't, most of the people who are interested in your work and stuff, they're not all that worried about your cells and your composition as much as you are. Sorry, I just bumped my tripod. They're just worried about how pretty they think it is. Like, they might see this and think nothing of that, and I will lose sleep over this. So don't be too quick to scrape things. You know, somebody might find this to be exactly what they're looking for. So one of the things that I try to do, and I'm not always great at that, is I try to get somebody to look at it who's not the person who made it, usually my husband, if he's doing homework, so he can't right now, and say, what do you think of when you see this? Because sometimes we're way too close to our work. The other thing is, people who are not doing blooms are not going to be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you kept that when you have that one white part. The other thing I also try to remember is, one thing I remember distinctly that Julie Cutts said when I first started pouring and I followed her channel is, if you like it 70%, leave it alone. So if I look at the surface of this, I love this, I like this, love this part, I don't like this. I would say that that's probably 70% that I like. So let me know in the comments, would you have poured over this again, or would you have kept it, resined it, and seen where it took you? Here's our edges, best I can show you. They're kind of messy. I like them though. I'm going to turn off the ring light in a second, try to get you a better close-up. This spinner is messy. So I think I like it well enough to keep it. And considering this is not a humongous canvas, it is an expensive gallery wrapped canvas, but it's not a humongous one. I think in the grand scheme of things, I'll take it. Still need a lot of practice with that blower. Want to try the other dryer next time because I think it will isolate the blow a little bit. One thing that I've seen Sarah Mack do with this Yeehaw that's, I think, kind of cool is it has a, look at my arm, gross. It has a little like hair dryer attachment, like the ones that you see people use on Dutch pours. And she actually, I've seen her attach it to the bottom of the Yeho and blow the cell activator like sideways first, which is kind of cool. Talking to you guys while I get my drips off. And and then she blows it around from there. So I thought that was kind of cool. The first time I saw her do that, I was like, wow. And it was like great coverage too. So here it is up close. I would love to know what you guys think. I hope you enjoyed seeing my little tile fly across the puppy pool. We would love to know what you think. I'd love to know where you're watching from. I always get a huge kick out of when you guys share where you're watching from. You know, our world is great big, and I love to hear where you guys are around the world, connect with you guys a little bit. So let me know what you think. Would you have scraped it? You can be honest with me. Would you have scraped it? Would you keep it? What'd you think of the color combo? Like I said, I will finish the tiles and I will resin them. I will say for you guys, as a general drying tip, making sure that you get your drips under control is really important, especially with these tall, deep edges, because if there is a place where it continues to drip, similar to the tips you get from Dutch pour artists and all that, it's going to pull your design and your cell structure. And I have had cells get really wonky and gross looking from drips. So, you know, for what it's worth, I also have a thread or something here that's really kind of challenging. So you want to make sure that you get your drips under control so it dries nicely. And gross, you see that? I should have checked my corners. You see this thread? That almost dried like a little booger in my painting. Anyway, you want it to dry nicely, so you want to get all your drips, because if it continues to pull in an area, I've had cells, I don't know, for lack of a better term, they look like they came out of like a Tales from the Crypt movie or something. They get really like wobbly and weird looking. So you definitely want to get your drips. So anyway, let me know what you think. Our social media links are below. 15% off promo code for Shelley's classes below. 20% off Colourarte below in the description box. Etsy shop also in there. If there's anything that you see us do that you are interested in purchasing, our email is also below. So yeah, thank you again for watching. Please like, subscribe, share, all the things. Appreciate you guys.